Okay, this video is understanding how to access forms on the back end and see that side. Okay, so the first thing, go to google.com. You'll need to be signed in. We know that in the district it still populates the sign in button, so make sure that you are signed in. It's the first thing. Okay, so with your school, your personal will not bring up the same stuff. Okay, so you have to be logged in under your school address to see your school things. So if you say, oh, I'm just logged into Google, check whether or not you're logged in under your personal or your professional. Okay, then you'll click on this waffle here, square, call it a waffle because it has the dots like that. Scroll down, you can click on forms. Option 2, if you don't have it in yours, you can type in Google Forms, and just save it up at the top and it'll take you there too. But you don't want to click to this one, you want to click to Google Forms, sign in for you, and then if you're signed in, it'll go here. If you're not signed in, it'll take you to the sign in sheet. Okay, so I clearly have like quite a few forms, so I'm gonna click on this one. And what usually happens is if people have access to edit a form like this, they see it and they just start typing it in. And when they start typing in answers and it's up here, if you see this part up here, that means you are in the editing side. Okay, if you're on the editing side, don't type into the answer parts because it's going to change what it looks like. Okay, if you want to preview and see what those who are taking this form or filling out this form will look at, you have up here, you have your add-ons, which looks like a puzzle piece, theme, which changes your colors and such, and your preview button. Your preview button, notice that there is nothing at the top where they can edit it. If you are trying to fill out the quiz and you also are an editor, the suggestion is to click on preview, fill it out, you'll still get that data piece, and then if you need to go back to it, this pencil down here, it says edit this form, will take you back to this portion, and you'll know you're there because you see this up here. You'll see questions, responses, settings, and of course you'll see these editing, the editing bar over here. So in order to see what those responses look like, you would click on responses. Okay, if you would like to turn it off, okay, say you have a time and you told them it needs to be in by this point, even if they still have the link, if you turn this off, they will no longer accept it. You'll notice here that it populates an automatic response. If you want to edit that, you can click on there and say something else. Otherwise, it's just going to say it's no longer accepting responses. Okay. So much like with the Microsoft form, you can make it so that it automatically, you have to be signed into your district Google in order to respond, or it can be open to anyone. Okay. You'll notice that some of these things just look similar. They have a lot of bars, but as I said with the Microsoft side, what you get as far as the data pieces on the back end is also dependent upon the type of question that you ask. Microsoft can do a heavier lift when it comes to branching and some of the data breakdown, but you have more question types if you go through Google. Okay. This will also allow you to look at each question. So if you're just trying to see how many, like what that response was, all the responses for question 1, right? So maybe you want to just see all of those responses only for that one question instead of just the person, or you want to see it by person, you can do that. Okay, and it takes you just the questions, or you'll see how each person responded to all the questions. And of course, those things have their benefits as well. Okay, you can, even while it's open, still change the access points. Okay, notice where it says collect the email addresses, you can turn that off. Okay, you can have them have a copy of their responses. All of this is under settings. Okay, and the limit to 1 response, that also is dependent upon what kind of information you're trying to get. Now, what is similar, so to the three dots. The three dots, I always say the three dots are very powerful anywhere you see them in Google. So up here, the three dots are if you need to make a copy of this form. Say you need to use the same kind of form, but you don't want to replace the information from the previous time. You want the same information, but in a different way. If you want to throw it away. And so the pre-filled link looks like this. So pre-fill the responses, then get the link so you can show them what it looks like with it's already being done. Or you can print it off. Now, this is where we kind of get into, you can print this off. It's not going to be super, print friendly because it's not made to be printed. That's where we get into the Canva. Canva is made specifically for being printed. So this is not like condensed to do that. It is not suggested to do a lot of printing of online forms, cloud forms, such as Microsoft Forms, Google Forms. That's not suggested, okay? Because even not long forms on the computer, when they're printed, will seem very long, okay? If you have someone else who needs to be able to edit this form or see this back in, you would click on the three dots over here, go down to add collaborators, and you'll notice that they have this access here. And with this, you can change someone's access, right? So if they are no longer there, you can click on remove access. If they are there, you can add them back on. And you have that access to do that, okay? So those are the three dots, and that's the one right next to your face. The three dots right next to the sheets, which is the same as Excel but for Google. And you can so if you want to know every time somebody completes it, that's how you turn it on. And how you turn it off is the same way you turned it on. Okay? You can unlink the form. You can download all the responses. You can, when you do it onto CSV, that is how you get it. One of the ways that you can get it directly into Excel, as opposed to opening in Google Sheets. If you feel more comfortable with, say, building your form in Google, but you feel more comfortable using Excel instead of Google Sheets, you can build your form in Google and then do the three dots and download it as a CSV file, and it'll go into Excel when you open it on your computer. Can print all the responses, of course. Then you could just delete all the responses and use the same format. Now, the thing, of course, with that is I don't really suggest doing that if you are trying to track responses or trends over time. That's not really a wise idea. Okay. Now, one of the things that in Microsoft, what it does is it goes directly to Excel, and so it downloads that and it opens in Excel, and so it doesn't keep it directly in that cloud as far as like live action. With the Google Forms, this is what you're seeing now, and as people continue to fill the things out, because it keeps it on your Google Drive, you'll always be able to see them. You'll see the live updates. If you are you're like, oh, I don't know how to find this. The trick of the trade is if you can find the form, just click on this. Whereas on Excel, it depends on wherever you saved it, and you may just need to download the same one each time and get that information. But on Google, it's live. And so if you don't download it and you keep it in Google Sheets, what it will do is if you can go to the form at any time, you can pull up those things. So even if you don't remember what you named it, all you have to look for, if you did your Google form and you know the name of the form, then the Excel sheet, the Sheets version is the same thing. It's just in Sheets. Okay? All right. So that is a very broad overview of the back end of Google Forms.